My name is Claire Harris, and I have Down syndrome. I haven't had a paying job yet because I go to the office at the college. Everyone I know has different dreams and ambitions for the future. So why, in 2015, did only 6% of people with learning disabilities have a paid job? We wanted to find out more from people with Down syndrome who do have jobs. We met with 8 people to hear their stories about employment. They are Lee, Sarah, Polly and Joe, Jemima, Eloise, Tara and Stella.
Lee is a volunteer in the office at Avenues, a charity which supports people with disabilities. Lee works for 2 hours a week and does the shredding, makes hot drinks and loads the dishwasher. Sarah is a keen swimmer. She works at Bexley Women's Aid, a refuge centre for women and children. Polly works 8 hours a week at a salon called Hair Design. She cleans the brushes, makes hot drinks and greets the customers. Joe is a volunteer shelf stacker at his local co-op.
Polly and Joe got married in May 2016 and live together like any married couple. It's also handy for their respective workplaces.
Jemima works as a catering assistant at Sevenoaks School. She works for 1 full day a week, setting up for breakfast and lunch and serving the students. Eloise volunteers on Friday afternoons at a shop called the Ballet Box. She does stocktake, prices items and works on the till. Tara used to be a volunteer 4 days a week at a charity shop. Stella is a volunteer trainee with a company called Mail Out, a company which packages and sends out parcels for businesses.
All participants have Down syndrome, but they are all very different. So, of course, the team jobs are all very different too.
But working with the Sea Life Centre,
working in the shop,
and a police woman.
Top police.
Apart from Kent Police, who do you like the best?
Oh, shush.
A hospital person.
Gosh. Probably be a dancer.
A ice cream person.
working in the ballet shop.
A charity person.
A
A flower person.
office work.
My dream job is horses. Like animals.
Society doesn't seem to think that we can manage employment. Before we grew up and we got to know us better, did our parents and future employers think that people with Down syndrome could have jobs?
Definitely not, no.
It wasn't something I had considered that I would be approached about when I took the shop at all.
It's never come up, but it's one of those things I'll just embrace it if it comes my way.
I think it's time that people expected people with Down syndrome to get jobs, and they don't need to get surprised when they get them. There are all sorts of reasons why it's great to have a job. So you recognise some of these.
Getting paid.
Because they get paid and they earn a lot of more money.
I get on with them all very well and they're all kind to me and tell me what to do.
Why do you like it? Happy.
Yeah, it's getting that feeling because I used to do ballet when I was about 10 years old.
Because I like to get out of the house.
I was less confident to start with, to build my confidence up.
When you get a job, you get a job. You get money, that's good too. You can spend it on anything you want.
I love my job too.
Well, we love when it's quiet. We love singing a lot on her iPad.
Yeah, cleaning, cookery. I make Sonia chicken. I make soup. And cleaning, sink, making coffee.
Our participants' family members and employers have seen what a difference having a job has made to their lives.
She's much more sociable now, and I mean, when she first started, she would, you know, if anybody spoke to her, she'd burst into tears, you know, and if she thought someone was telling her off, well, that was a catastrophe. But I mean, now she takes everything in her stride.
I push her boundaries a bit because I say to her, right, Polly, I'm going to give you some money. I'd like you to go just 2 doors away, get me some coffee, and I want you to give me the change and put the receipt where you know it needs to go. And she's done it. That's fabulous. And when I feel like she's mastered what she's doing, I'll then give her another job. So it's like a work in progress.
Tara's here to work, not to be cared for.
I can look after myself.
That's right.
And she is a great member of the team, making everyone laugh, singing along to the radio. And Stella, you are really good, aren't you, with all the work we do here? So all the fulfilment, all the mailing and everything. Stella really knows what needs to be done and just gets on with it.
What differences or changes, if any, have you noticed in Jemima over the time of her working here?
When she started, she was 16, so she was a little girl. She's now grown into a woman. She's 21, done a fine job. She's grown confident. She loves the guys love her here. Very confident. We have Christmas parties and she'll always come along.
She couldn't even make a tea or coffee when she first started. And did you hear what she said to you? She went, I'll make you a cup of tea when you come back to my house.
There are skills that Eloise has mastered over the last few months, and you know, it's just growing, and it's something I hope that will grow into, you know, future years. I know for a fact Eloise is keen to stay in this environment, so I hope it's something we can nurture and she can build upon. So yeah, all moving very positively forward.
I think generally you're pretty outgoing and hardworking, and I think you enjoy going, and I think you relate really well to the other people, and they're brilliant with you so far.
We have some large events, which is a different day to a normal working day, and you're confident to come, she's a waitress and help serve. So yeah, really grown into a great young person.
We also visit Jenny in her very common office in Brixton.
Jenny is the operations manager at Freewheelers Theatre Company, which is a unique organisation providing arts workshops for everyone, whether they have a disability or not.
We don't say no to anybody, and that means that we're working with a huge range of abilities, and that in a sense is our identity, and our USP is that we embrace everybody. But that can be a challenge because it's harder to tailor the work that we're doing. We can't always be thinking about every single person's specific need. So what we're trying to do is create a sense of teamwork within the group so that everyone is always looking out for each other. And if, say, the director or the tutor can't be thinking about every single individual, then we're relying on them to be thinking about each other. And that's quite unique, and it does create a really lovely dynamic.
We think Freewheelers demonstrates the inclusivity and mutual support we would like to see everywhere in society.
There's something about belief, I think, and someone has to believe in you. So there are people on our list of paid artists who just had that enough belief in themselves to come forward to us to be artists. And right from day one, I think we're probably all guilty of defining them slightly differently, because because they put that application in, because they came forward for that interview or volunteering or whatever, we looked at them as, what is it you can do for us? And now we pay them regularly to do stuff. So what we want to be able to do is to instill that same level of belief in some of the people who've come to us as a participant, and actually say to them, you could be doing that as well. And I think that's a really important part of our job, to do that.
I'm not going to pretend that people with Down syndrome are always perfect employees. I'm like saying a normal person who is.
One participant who is working on their professionalism is Lee.
How can we put it? It's a question of... Eventually we want Lee to be able to go to any office environment and not be... put it to abnormal behaviours in the office.
Here are some other examples of personal challenges our participants have had at work.
It was very hard to understand work and college. So she would sit down when she found, when she was tired, or she would make a phone call when she should be working. And as she's grown with us and understanding the concept of work, in fact, it's just really, she was a 16-year-old girl, which you'll find that with any 16-year-old girl within the workplace.
As Eloise wisely tells us,
it's all to do with learning.
Also of all, just how many lines have I had to remember for this film?
Sometimes, the challenges people can face at work are not only personal ones. At the moment, the world can place obstacles in the way too. An organisation who understands this all too well is the Camden Society, a charity which helps find jobs for people with learning disabilities.
Well, we definitely do see different forms of discrimination, usually indirect or as a result of companies having very strict procedures around recruitment, and they don't necessarily realise that it's classed as discrimination. And it's very difficult to tell somebody that they're discriminating because you don't want to alienate an employer before you've even started. But yeah, we do see it. Big employers will always tell people these days, you used to be able to walk into a supermarket, any supermarket, ask for a job, you could speak to the manager there and then. Now it's all online, and they think that their online system is simpler. Maybe it is for them, but it's really not for our clients. A lot of our clients don't have computers at home, and they struggle with accessing websites because there's no uniformity to it. If you have a learning disability, if you have dyslexia, if you have autism, it's so difficult to know, is it going to be jobs on this website, or is it going to be called careers? It's going to be called, what is it going to be called? Where is it going to be, at the bottom or at the top or at a sidebar? It's impossible. And then it takes a lot of time to go through these applications as well, where you have to go through all of the personality inventory questions and then these scenario-based questions. And so for somebody to do that with support, the job centres cannot do that. We have to do that, which we build as much as we can into our time, but even then it can be tricky. It can take a couple of hours.
It's such a shame if they're not given the opportunity to do what they can. It's just finding the right environment where they're assisted perhaps to begin with until you can show what you can do, and then you just run with the job.
I think, yeah, it's kind of, the whole kind of reasonable adjustment argument as well, which is law, but people don't really understand it. I think people are discriminated in that way, that actually people are very stuck on that we're doing a round of interviews and everybody has to be the same. And it's actually not, you can make an adjustment to allow somebody to perform in a certain way, and they don't do that very easily. I think people are very kind of frightened of doing things wrong.
I think it's a shame that more employers don't have a go, because although I think that we have moved forward in many steps in society to incorporate people with disabilities, in this case Down syndrome, I still think there's a long way to go, and it isn't a hindrance.
And whereas I understand that, a lot of employers don't, and they can be quite, you sometimes get confrontations over it every now and then. And it's just because social rules are very fluid and they're unwritten, and a lot of times it's actually quite difficult to explain what the social rules are because we don't think about it.
And it's that workplace culture. that is the kind of unwritten bit that we need to really kind of think about with people.
And that's one of the biggest things that I think you learn when you go into your first job, is actually how to manage in a work environment, regardless of who you are. But then if you have a learning disability, that's extra difficult because of the level of understanding of social cues and things like that.
One example the Camden Society has had recently is with their client Tara. She was asked to leave her position in a charity shop after a confused accusation regarding her conduct with another volunteer who was under 18.
The employer will, if they feel that they've got something that they need to deal with, they will default to the parent or the carer. For me, really, that's wrong. Tara's 27. She's worked there for nearly 2 years. Tara's been doing 4.5 days for the last 2 years. Punctual, always getting in there, always keen, hardly ever ill. And they were cutting her hours to 2-3 hour session. And I said, well, I think that's appalling. You know, you have no evidence that Tara's done anything wrong. And you said that everything was fine. I said, and now you're suddenly saying this after nearly 2 years.
But instead of using it as an opportunity to actually help Tara develop work
Yes,
skills, which is what a volunteering position should be, there's been immediately that risk-averse response. People have heard the words vulnerable adult, they've heard safeguarding, and then they go around acting as if they're the arbitrators of this, and they're not social workers. They should leave that to the professionals.
They thought that they realised that out of this, what they needed to do was make sure that anybody new coming into the workplace, if they were going to be working with Tara, which is a small unit, so of course that would happen, that they should be, take some time to make them aware of Tara's disability and so forth, more than perhaps they have done in the past. And this was what shocked me. But if the person that they were taking on said, I don't feel I can work with Tara, then they would actually accept that, and that they would just make sure that they either did different hours or that they weren't put to work together. You know?
It's one rule for us and one rule for people that we perceive as being different from us. That's the truth of it. And you have to be very honest with yourself and very prepared to actually say what you're bad at. And you know the people that aren't good at it because they're the people that throw around terms like normal without thinking about what normal actually means and what you're saying by immediately excluding other people from being normal.
How do you think the customers here react to an employee with Down syndrome?
80% of them are fabulous, 20% of them are wary.
Why do you think that might be?
Because to me, it's something out of the norm. So, you know, but the ones that she sees regularly are happy to talk to her. So, you know, but she comes in here, comes in like a whirlwind, she brightens our world, and then she's gone again.
Yes, I think she would. She'd like to do more, because she likes to be busy. But at the moment, I mean, Twofold are really struggling to find new people that are coming on their books, jobs, because of the state of the country and the fact that there's not jobs for everybody.
We are now quite seriously considering creating paid opportunities for some of our members, but I think by default the first people that we do that for will be people who either have a very, very supportive other person who can manage their finances, or people who don't have a learning disability. Most of the people who we did our research with contacted their benefits office or their benefits advisor to ask about how this would work, and none of the advisors were confident immediately about the answer to the question. So this makes us worried that if we start offering people money and they start accepting that money, even if it is fine, there could be problems along the way, and on a short-term basis somebody might have their benefits withdrawn, or there might be a misunderstanding, or it's a situation which advisors are not familiar with. People earning small amounts of money on a freelance basis for a short period of time, and it's not unique to the arts, but it's very symptomatic of working in the arts industries and working particularly as an actor. It's a problem that I bet a lot of actors come across, but if you have a disability, particularly a learning disability to start with, you're going to find it even more difficult to comprehend all of those different factors that you've got to get your head round. And I think for us as an organisation, we feel very nervous about pushing people into a situation which we are not going to be able to get them out of.
Because, you know, human nature really, you want to be rewarding someone, but it's important that I do keep it as voluntary apparently, and that's what I was directed to do, because they, you know, Eloise and other young people like her have got benefits and things like that, and it would alter the benefits. So what I tend to do is every sort of month or so I will either choose something from one of the dance catalogues, be it a sweatshirt. A couple of months ago I had a ballet box sweatshirt made up for her with the logo on, or I give her a voucher or something like that. So I like to reward her with a gift.
But benefits is a really, really tricky area. I think it's particularly difficult, not always necessarily with the people themselves, but families. Lots of people with learning disabilities benefits forms part of the family income. Parents are also very nervous if it goes wrong, and we can't guarantee that it's always going to go right, and will they get back on benefit?
Benefits are, I think they're able to make a contribution to society, and you are not just wasting time keeping yourself busy, you're actually doing something useful, which everybody likes to do. I think there's nothing worse than being underemployed in life.
We had a customer who had a little girl who was about 3 with Down syndrome. And this little girl had no communication skills at all. Well, she had no verbal communication skills, I should get that right. And she was very shy. She came with her mum, and I was struggling to try her tap shoes on. Her mum was struggling, and then Eloise stepped in and really saved the day, and she was able to sign with this little girl, and this little girl immediately took to Eloise and was able to allow us to try her tap shoes on. It worked beautifully. When they went, I then asked Eloise, how did you do that? And she said that she had had friends at the Orpheus, I think it was Maccaton signing, and I had no idea, and I feel bad really, I had no idea that Eloise's presence here would be quite as life-saving as it was on that afternoon. So it's just a perfect example of, you think that they will, somebody like Eloise will be supplementing. They're not, they're part of the team, and she did something that I wasn't able to do.
One thing we've learnt with Jemima, she's as hard working as anyone else, so I don't think you can actually, I don't think there is much difference. Obviously there's skill sets, and it's just understanding the skill sets with what they can do, but then don't we all have skill sets that we have to work with? With Jemima, if you show her, and she has a lot of visual, she enjoys, that is better for her to work, visually showing her what to do, and then guarantee you can leave her on her own. So yeah, go for it.
Same as anybody who doesn't have any disabilities. No different, don't treat her any different.
Back to the experts.
The benefits, to sell it to an employer, we know that keeping people on board in this day and age is quite a difficult thing. Staff retention is a difficult thing. To get somebody in who's going to give the best they possibly can is also quite a difficult thing, because out there is a wide variety of jobs that people without a disability could potentially be doing. But give it to somebody with a disability, or from a minority group that haven't had many opportunities. You know what, they're going to be on time every single day, they're going to have less sick days. The positive ripple that spreads from that particular candidate outwards to the entire organisation is better than MasterCard. It's more than priceless. It's something that you can't buy. And just to open yourself up, make it plain and simple and uncomplicated is the best way to go. It really doesn't have to be that difficult.
So, for example, we had somebody that was a kitchen porter at a hospital. They were having to kind of put all their crockery and all the pans and pots back in these kind of big shelving units. And they were getting really muddled and putting them in the wrong place. So what we did was do a pictorial checklist for them and pictures on the shelves of what went where. They adopted it as a whole method for their whole kitchen because most of the people in the kitchen, English was their second language. So actually it's kind of also encouraging employers by making things a little bit simpler, it helps your whole workforce. And once people see it, they really kind of adapt to it. And we've had a number of employers that have come back to us and said, have you got any more people?
We hope we have helped you to understand a bit more about the challenges and benefits of people who have Down syndrome experience at work.
When you consider there could be over 100,000 adults with learning disabilities in England today without a job, and you consider the advantages they could bring to their communities.
Well, I say, imagine the possibility. In case you're wondering, no, I haven't been paid to do this documentary.